gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy Z show right here on ESPN New Hampshire. Glad you guys could join us. And don't forget about my book, man. What are you waiting for? Get a copy now. As a matter of fact, get a bunch of copies. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to the Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold. And you can actually get it right now if you go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. If you're looking to get a signed copy, visit my website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to the Baddest Man on the Planet, is not only for boxing fans, although it's a boxing story, a true story. It's a piece of history, American history, more importantly, a piece of black American history. And what's a better time to get a copy of the book than this month, Black History Month? Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to the Baddest Man on the Planet. It's a must-read. Check it out. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So buy a copy and drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, Larry Hazzard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Billy. What's going on, man?
A lot of stuff, man. Lots and lots of stuff I want to get your thoughts on, man. First and foremost, big announcement yesterday. Saul Canelo Alvarez fighting Amir Khan, which was kind of out of the blue, man. I mean, you know, everybody's talking about Amir Khan, Danny Garcia. You know, he's been still about Floyd. Oh, Floyd stuck me. You know, I was busting chops about Amir Khan a couple days ago. You know, why is he still chasing Floyd? Leave Floyd alone. Floyd's retired. You know, blah blah blah. Then the Danny Garcia.
We talked about it. We talked about it last week.
I know. You know, and it's like, you know, then all of a sudden a bomb hits yesterday, made official Canelo Alvarez against Amir Khan. Before I tell you what I think, what do you think of the fight, Larry?
Well, let me say this. First off, I think it's a very good fight. And I'll say that, my opinion, Canelo Alvarez is one of those fighters that I've always felt was the future of boxing. Okay? I think that, I think Khan is a very formidable foe, but I think he's going to have his work cut out for him that night. Because Canelo to me is, you know, I put him right in that group. You know, there's a group of fighters out there that I feel are the future of our sport, and I put Canelo right in that group. I happen to not put Khan in that group, so I think I'm kind of answering your question, you know, as I elaborate. But I think it's going to be an exciting fight.
You know, I like the fight, and I think, like you, it's going to be an exciting fight. Everybody's flipping out over a couple of issues. Number one, all of a sudden everybody's blaming Canelo Alvarez for fighting a smaller guy and, you know, blah, 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 with the catch weight, 155, which you and I both can't stand. They're even asking. They want to ask you. Right. They're asking me to ask you in the chat room, you know, what's your thoughts about the WBC basically enforcing a catch weight, but we've beaten that to death, and it is kind of BS, to tell you the truth. And the reason I think he's doing it isn't because he feels he's not a true middleweight. It's the fact that he knows that his body can handle dehydrating and putting back on 15, 20 pounds overnight, and he's banking that his opponents can't, you know, so that's why he does that. But the truth of the matter is, you know, I look at it this way, Larry. The one weakness, and I know I've talked to you about this a lot of times, and we've been like you, we've been watching Canelo, and yeah, he is a future of the sport, at least one of the guys. And, you know, the one thing, although he seems to get better and better, the one thing that he proved to me 100% in his fight with Floyd and since then is that he has problems with fighters that have movement, that have good, movement, ability to move and hand speed. And that's exactly what he's getting with Amir Khan, you know. So in one sense, you kind of got to give him credit for and either that or they just don't realize it. You got to give him credit for fighting a guy that really could expose his only weakness.
Well, well, they all have some weakness, but he still manages to beat these guys. Okay, so he's able to overcome his weaknesses, and you know, he lost to Floyd because Floyd certainly had the masterful defensive skills. Okay, but the fighters that have the movement that give him trouble, he still manages to beat them. So that's what's important, though. You know, but they all there's no perfect specimen of a fight out there. But right now, I don't think that there's anybody out there, you know, at that weight with the movement, with the whatever skills they may have, that are, you know, up to par with this kid. I mean, I think he's head and shoulders above everybody else in that group.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Canelo?
Canelo.
Yeah, well, except for Triple G. I mean,
well, Triple G. I mean, you know, I'm talking about, you know, these guys that like Khan, but you know, Triple G to me is the cream of the crop. You know what I'm saying? I think that he's able. I think that Canelo, you know, will be able to, you know, still be able to handle Khan. And even though Khan does present that challenge of movement and half speed, I think he still will be able to overcome that.
You know, let me ask you something. If Amir Khan, now remember, he's with Virgil now, right? So he, you know, he's tightening up his defense a little bit. We all knew that he had punching power and hand speed. He's arguably maybe even the fastest fighter in the sport today, hand speed wise. And you know, I mean, he's got to be up there. He's got to be in the top 2 or 3. But in any event, you know, if he fights disciplined and he doesn't get coaxed in, similar to what Timothy Bradley lets fighters do, at least he didn't in his last fight with Teddy Atlas. But prior to that, you know, he lets fighters coax them into a brawl, you know, a toe-to-toe fight, and that's kind of what I would think Canelo's looking for. Do you think, you know, if Amir Khan is disciplined and fights a smart fight and uses, and believe it or not, he's got an arm reach advantage, and uses his arm reach, his hand speed, and his movement just to you know, win a 12-round decision? Is it possible?
It's certainly it's possible, but I just think that Canelo can make the adjustment and overcome all of that if Khan is able to do it. And now you mentioned the trainer, of course. You mentioned the trainers. You know, I don't give the trainers that much credit in being able to you know, alter these guys' styles. Just like when Teddy Atlas was in with you know, that last fight with Timothy Bradley. There was no way that Bradley was going to lose that fight either way. You know, even if he had stayed with his old trainer, you know. So I don't think that Virgil is going to have that type of impact on the on Khan's performance to make that type of adjustment to overcome the skills, you know, and you know, the deserves of Canelo. That's just I just don't think that he's up to it.
That's interesting. Interesting. You know, you never know when they get to that level. You never know what, you know, I'm talking about the fighter, you know, you never know what is successful with pushing buttons, you know, and I agree with what you're saying, you know. I mean, the old saying, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I get it.
Yeah, see, these guys always return to the scene of the crime. You know, they always they always return to what got them there, you know, and this is what they do. When you start trying to alter their styles, trying to so-called look what happened. Well, I might be getting a little ahead of it, but I mean, what did Freddie Roach do last week? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I'm getting to that. I'm going to get to that, man. And you know,
I know,
that's you know, the thing is that to me, and this is why I have respect for trainers like, you know, Virgil Hunter and Virgil Hill. You know, both of them have you know, the ability to. They're not one-dimensional. They have the ability to pull out, you know, a fighter's strengths and capitalize and try to help them cover up their deficiencies, you know. And then you have those one-dimensional trainers like a Freddie Roach who can't. And although I think Teddy Atlas is just a, you know, an egotistical guy, it might have been successful for Timothy Bradley to listen to him. You know, you don't know. We'll have to wait for the next fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how Amir Khan approaches this. I mean, he's. I don't think he's going to think that he can go in muscle this guy. I mean, so, he's got to use his head. But interesting fight. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Real quick, they announced today officially on ESPN that Triple G versus Dominic Wade has been made official April 23rd on HBO. People are already criticizing Triple G for taking this fight. I mean, of course, there were better fights out there, but I mean, Larry, at the end of the day, what are we supposed to do? I mean, the guy, if nobody's going to...
He fights whoever they put in front of him.
Right, but he
doesn't duck anybody.
No, but the point is what are we supposed to do with these fighters that aren't willing to fight him? I mean,
right.
What's he supposed to do? Not fight at all?
That's my point. It's not like, well, maybe I should have put it that way. It's not like he's ducking anyone. Maybe I should have said it that way. I'm sure if they go get the guys that everybody supposedly wants to see, okay, and they're willing to fight him, he'll fight them. But that's just the problem. They don't want to fight him. So what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? He'll fight nobody? He fights whoever they put in front of him. He ain't running from nobody.
Exactly. And you know what? With these fights coming up, Amir Khan against Canelo and even Triple G against Dominic Wade. I mean, those are Al Haymon fighters, So maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe that crossover is happening, And it's good stuff. Good stuff. I'm excited about that. But let's talk about the fight from last week. Sergey Kovalev, stops Jean Pascal. I don't think it surprised anybody. He beat him pretty bad. And here's some of my comments that I've been dying to ask you. Number one, okay, now you got to forget your opinion now, because I'll get your opinion in a second. But I want the Larry Hazzard boxing commissioner's hat on. That's evaluating your referees. Okay. During this fight, a lot of fans are upset.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, okay, but listen, they're actually upset with Sergey Kovalev because he prolonged the beating on Jean Pascal, and they feel that he's too vicious for the sport of boxing. Well, I ask you this, Larry. I ask you this. That referee could have stopped that fight many times, and he didn't. Would you have felt that he should have stopped that fight? Would you take him in if he was fighting under your jurisdiction? Would you have a private conversation, or even, however, if it was public or whatever, would you say anything to that referee saying, hey, maybe you waited too long? What's your thoughts on that from a commissioner point of view?
Absolutely. First off, I thought that the referee had highway hypnosis, okay? He's standing there with his behind poked out. At one point, he actually stood still, right there. And I'm saying, what the hell is he looking for? He was bent over, looking like he was on the, you know how you fall asleep on the highway with your eyes open?
Yeah, I do that.
Okay? And the one thing that the referees should always understand, and everybody should understand, that their first responsibility is to protect the health and safety of the fighter. Okay? Now, it was quite obvious to me that Kovalev was punishing this guy for all of that smack that he was talking, bringing in all of these issues that really didn't belong at the press conference. I saw the final press conference, and I thought that Pascal was totally out of order with some of the stuff that he was saying. Now, if you felt that way, okay, because I'm not going to be judgmental as to whether he was, right in how he felt. I don't know what was said, what kind of comment Kovalev had made that pissed him off from a racial perspective. You understand? And, all I'm saying is that issue, he should not, in my opinion, have used the press conference to raise his issues about the comment. Okay? With that being said, I do believe, in my opinion, that Kovalev was punishing this guy for the way that he acted out at the press conference, the accusations, and getting almost into an altercation with John David Jackson to the point where John David invited him outside and all of the other stuff. that he really wanted to punish this guy, and he himself said it. So not only did he do it, he admitted that that was what he was trying to do. So I felt that the referee, who could have stopped that fight on several occasions, should have done just that. But for some reason, like I said, he stood there like he had highway hypnosis, and the guy could have gotten beaten, into a serious, you cannot take advantage of situations like that and allow a fighter to do that. Now, what was the favorite saying of a referee that we both know? Well, he likes to let the fighters decide. You heard that comment before?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was his excuse for allowing fights to just go on and on until guys get beat up. Okay.
Well, let me.
I thought that referee should have stopped that fight on several occasions.
Okay, let me throw this one at you to keep you going on this thought. If now maybe you should put your referee hat on first. I don't know. I know you got a whole box of hats there, but listen. A trainer comes to you. You're a referee. The round is about to start, and the trainer says, "Hey, ref, keep an eye on my kid. He's not doing too good. If you got to stop it, stop it." If I'm a referee, correct me if I'm wrong. I've never been a referee. I've never sat in on a referee class. So Larry, I could be 100% wrong. But if I'm a referee and a trainer, the chief second says that to me,
oh my gosh.
I would turn to him and I would go, time out. Are you telling me that you're sending your kid out right now when he shouldn't be? I would have waved the fight off right then. What's the protocol there, Larry?
Well, you got one of two choices, okay? The referee could have said, okay, I'll give him an opportunity, okay? But if he gets in trouble, I'm going to stop the fight. He's in agreement with the referee. With the trainer. He could have done it that way, or he could have stopped it right then and there. And I don't think that the trainer would have objected, because as you can recall, Freddie Roach had already said to Pascal, "I'm stopping the fight," and Pascal begged him not to stop. You recall that?
Yeah.
No, just give me one more chance. Give me one more chance, and that's when he did that. Okay, so the trainer was already ready to stop it. So if the referee had said, no, I'm stopping this now, there couldn't have been no objection from the trainer. Okay? And I've had situations like that. But I don't think that referee acted properly in any way, shape, or form at all.
Well, first of all, the referee, the look on Pascal, listen, I wasn't ringside, but the look on his face from my TV set said, "Somebody help me, help me." The guy was, too proud to take the knee and just let the fight end. But he clearly was given, I could see it in his eyes that he was hoping somebody, his corner, the referee.
Billy, you know that Gladiators mentality, okay? We give him credit for that. The guy is not a coward, okay? And maybe coward is not a good word. But the guy, really, most fighters don't want to quit. Because, that's shunned in boxing. These guys, we have to protect them from themselves. That's why referees are trained to be able to, or should be trained to be able to detect when a fighter is taking too much punishment. You go over to the corner, I don't even know if he ever called his doctor in to look at the guy. Because I'm sitting there looking at, well, where's the doctor? He should at least call the doctor.
And he missed two knockdowns. He could have
made one or two choices.
The two knockdowns were knockdowns. The one, they were both from punches. They weren't. He didn't get hurt, but they were mistakes there. But when you look,
they were still not.
I thought they were. I thought they were. At least we had the benefit of watching the replay. They clearly were. But then the other thing that bothered me, getting back to Freddie Roach, was that that round that Jean Pascal begged him to let him continue. was after 2 previous rounds that the corner was telling him, and Freddie Roach too was saying, "I'm stopping this fight. I'm stopping this fight. I'm stopping this fight." And then he says, "Do you want?" Then he goes, "Do you want me to stop this fight? Do you want me to give you one more time?" You know, and then after that, one more time was when he gave him the extra one more round. But the thing that bothered me is Freddie Roach. This was the first time in the corner with Jean Pascal. The other 2 guys, Russ Amber was one, and I didn't know the other guy. They were basically saying, stop the fight. They were saying he's done. They were saying to Pascal, you're done, you know, there's another day. You'll fight to live. You'll live to fight another day. They were getting him ready, and Freddie overrides them, sends him out. You know, I mean, every indication, really, the fight should have been stopped sooner than it was. And I don't know who's more to blame, the referee for really, in my opinion, putting that fighter in harm's way, or the corner. But I know one guy that shouldn't be blamed, who a lot of fans are blaming, and that's Kovalev. You know, to suggest that he shouldn't, you know, try to inflict pain on his opponent is just ridiculous to me, Larry.
You cannot blame Kovalev. That is twice as ridiculous as they blame Muhammad Ali when he did to Ernie Terrell. Okay, you can't blame the fighter. It's the fighter's job. That's his job, to inflict the punishment, and that's why you have the referee. The referee is the guy that has to have courage beyond everyone else, including the brave cornermen. Okay?
Right.
It's the referee's responsibility above and beyond everyone else, including the brave cornermen that you sometimes, or that you often see in these fighters' corners. That's the referee, to protect those fighters from themselves. That's his job.
And
number one responsibility.
And they got to protect him from his corner, apparently. You know, I just think I think that if a cornerman, especially a guy like Freddie Roach, I mean, I suppose you could look at it and say, hey, he was being safe. Hey, if you see my kid in trouble. But what about the previous 6 rounds? You know, I mean, the previous 6 rounds, he was being battered from ring post to ring post. I mean, if I'm a referee, I say to Freddie Roach, hey, I mean, if you're not sure about sending this guy out, I'm stopping it right now. You know, I mean, don't put me in the position, because really, I'm criticizing him right now for not stopping that fight sooner. You know, so.
Well, Billy, if that fighter gets hurt, or, you know, God forbid, if that fighter gets killed, the referee's got the problem, not Freddie Roach. The commission's got the problem, not Freddie Roach. Or not to beat up on Freddie, but not the corner man. You got my drift.
Right. And okay? Would you have said something to that referee? Would you have taken him aside? Did he do something you know, serious enough to warrant, you know, suspending him or fining him? I mean, how would you have handled that if you were? You
wouldn't. Well, first off, he would get an email or letter, okay, explaining what he did and why he shouldn't have done it, and what he should have done, okay? And this is a situation that calls for corrective action. And then, of course, you wouldn't see him for a while, because I'd give him a little time on the sideline to think about what he did. And I would encourage him to get a videotape replay of the fight, okay, and look at the significant areas that I would be referring to in the letter. That's standard procedure. Okay, for me, that's standard procedure, and I've done it many times. I
had gotten an email earlier in the week, and you know, somebody basically was asking that question. You know, who does the referee have to answer for? Why aren't they being held accountable? And in strong commissions, they are, and you're backing that up right now. You know, and a referee, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, because you know, there's been many times when I thought that the referees stopped the fight too soon. But I guess in hindsight, especially what we've all witnessed, you know, in the course of the history of this sport, is that I guess it's better to get a little grief for stopping a fight too soon than having to live with all the repercussions if you stopped it too late.
That's true, and I'm willing to bet you. I'm willing to bet, and you can you can check it out for yourself. I'm willing to bet that the fight took place. The fight took place in Canada, but this is the same referee that was in there when Deontay Wilder hits. What's it? How do you pronounce it?
Spiltzka. Yeah.
Spiltzka. Did you see? He's the same referee that when Spiltzka went down, he was out when he hit the canvas, and he stood there counting over the fighter, which is another situation in which I'm sure the chairman in New York, Berlin,
David, yeah,
well, he's the executive director. If he didn't do it, I'm sure that Tom Hoover has, called this guy and at least had some conversation.
Well, how does he get how does a referee that had a fight so soon ago, right, get rewarded for another big fight like that? If you were ready to assign him and then you saw that previous performance, wouldn't you have second thoughts? I mean, or is that etched in stone or what?
Absolutely, but you see, he did. This was in New York, okay? So I don't even know. First off, I don't know if whoever's in charge in Canada, I don't even know if they saw the fight. But the referee himself is from Canada. He's a Canadian referee.
Right.
Or he's from Canada, but he was refereeing the Deontay Wilder fight in New York at the Barclays Center, okay? So now he goes home to another big fight. So the first thing, I don't know if who runs the Canadian Commission, I don't know if they saw the fight. And secondly, I don't really know how much they know about refereeing. I don't know how much some of these commissions or heads of these commissions know about refereeing. See, that's the question. And sometimes that is the problem. That, people on the commission sometimes can't challenge the officials due to the fact that they may not know that much about officiating. So therein lies a lot of the problem.
Unbelievable.
Well, in many ways, I feel fortunate that my whole background, coming through, besides having a background in the sport, my major background was in officiating, which is utmost important. So I'm call myself lucky, I guess. I'm lucky in that respect, and I focus primarily on the referee and the judges, but primarily on the referee, because that's where, the real danger lies in protecting these guys from getting seriously injured.
No, I agree with you.
And
you know what?
I didn't mean to cut you off, but, I've been criticized in the past for telling the referee, stop the fight. I've been criticized for it in the past.
Well, the bottom line is you're a boxing guy in the boxing business. To me, my biggest argument is there's not enough of boxing people in the boxing business. There's too many guys that are in authoritative roles that don't know a left hook from official, don't know a good referee from a bad referee, don't know a good judge from a bad judge, and they're the ones appointing them. So and that's the problem. That's the problem. But I always try to speak in ways where I'm not on the soapbox. I'm not a narcissist, and I certainly shy away from self-aggrandizement. So that's not my bag. But I have to agree with you 100% there that in a lot of the commissions, there are people who really don't know that much about, the sport or regulating the sport. Because I get correspondence from a lot of people all the time asking questions that they should already know the answers to. And so it's one of those sad things about our sport. No doubt, man.
It's just sad.
Well, hey, yeah. It's looking good, and it's looking better anyway, at least fight wise. So maybe we'll have some better things to talk about.
Better fight wise.
But listen, Larry, I appreciate your insight. I couldn't wait to get you on the phone about that stuff. I knew that we were on the same page there, and I look forward to next week, my man.
Yeah, I didn't mean to hog up the conversation, man, but I get, sometimes I get wound up with some of this stuff, man.
Especially,
I try to get it all out.
I know. Especially when you got so much, content to talk about. When I see these things, I'm like, oh man, wait till I get Larry on the phone about that. I'm like, oh man, that referee, oh God, what's he doing? Freddie Roach, what are you saying? Oh, wait till I ask Larry. It's like,
I know.
It's funny. But anyway, Larry, you have yourself a good rest of the week, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man.
Okay, Billy. As always, I look forward to it.
All right, man. Take care.
Okay.
That's my man Larry Hazzard, and I just couldn't wait to get his thoughts on that whole situation up in Canada. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When I come back, blast from the past, Smoke and Bert Cooper in about 2.
Talkin'.